Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to this MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium Regional Round Meeting for MenEngage Africa.
Hello, everyone who just joined us. Welcome to the MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium Regional Roundtable Meeting for Africa. So my name is Ontametse Raliru. I am from MenEngage Botswana, which is the member country of MenEngage Africa.
And I am Chupa Kavaso, a gender activist and a child rights activist from Zambia, a member country of MenEngage Africa.
We're very excited to welcome you to this first series of MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium regional and cross-regional roundtable meetings that we will host over the next 6 months as part of the MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium to discuss various issues surrounding the 5 themes of the symposium, which are feminism, power, transformation, accountability, as well as intersectionality.
You can go on and introduce our guest, our first guest speaker.
Thank you very much, Chupa. Our first speaker is Mr. Elias Mundi, an activist, a male engagement specialist, advancing gender equality and women's health and empowerment. He currently serves as the program officer for Kenya MenEngage Alliance, KEMEA.
We are also joined by Miss Soa Adrianirina, a women's rights activist and social worker in Madagascar. Soa is also the country coordinator of MenEngage Madagascar.
We also have Dr. Chris Ubu, the executive director of MenEngage Nigeria Network and a gender activist of international repute.
Great. Last but not least, we welcome Linda Kavira, a gender and rights activist and SRHR change maker working in DRC, also the MenEngage country coordinator for the DRC. Dr. Ugu, Mr. Muindi, Ms. Adrianirina, and Ms. Kavira, welcome to this Ubuntu region round table conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Roundtable. And so now we go on to our discussion. So each one of the speakers will be given a total of 5 minutes to answer their question. So now I'll go on to you, Elias. We have transformation as one of the themes for the MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium that has been taking place since Tuesday, the 10th of November. Talk to us about what transformation means in the context of your work of engaging men and boys for gender equality in a social, cultural setting. Mr. Elias, the opportunity is yours.
Thank you, Handla, for the question. I'm very grateful to be in this session at the Ubuntu Symposium. To me, transformation means to identify the changes we need to practice in our own attitudes. By attitudes, I mean, I'm talking the perspective of female genital mutilation in Kenya. You see, when a girl is not cut in those areas where they do, they have a negative attitude towards the girls. Sometimes they are not allowed to collect grains in the garden. They perceive that if they collect grains in the garden, maybe the grains will dry. And that is one attitude that needs to change. And if it changes, that has its transformation, because you find if you are not cut, you are not allowed to perform certain tasks at home, which brings about discrimination. But now, if you are not cut and you are able to do the tasks which are done by the other girls or women who are not cut and who are cut, that means there is a bit of transformation. We also see change in behaviors of groups of people in areas where they cut girls, where you find young men protect the women who cut the girls. But now what we call transformation in such setting is that when now the young men protect the young girls from the cut, that to us is transformation. When the young men stand and speak against FGM, when the young men speak against the effects which these girls undergo after getting the cut. So that is transformation for us. And also in relationships, you find maybe if a girl is not cut, she may not get a husband. But if there are young men marrying these girls, that is transformation. If there are young men marrying girls who have not been cut, that to us is transformation. So to us transformation, if these changes are identified and that contribute these harmful practices at personal, family, and community level, that is a very good transformation. Also, it also means individuals taking collective action. These young men speaking to other men and mobilizing groups for change to happen, for the communities and individuals to embrace girls who have not been cut, and supporting them by all means as sisters in the community. So that to us is transformation. If we identify the changes we need to practice in our own attitude, in our own behaviors, and in our own relationships, which contribute now to the harmful practices at the personal, family, and community level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elias. I really appreciate the point you brought up about, engaging young men and just having them reach out to other men. I think that is really, really impactful, and we're excited for the work that you're doing in Kenya. I now move on to you, Soa. You work with the youth. Tell us what transformation means to you in that particular context. Soa?
Thank you very much, Montla, for giving me the floor. So I'm Soa from Madagascar, and MenEngage Madagascar really works a lot with young people. And so in the case of Madagascar, the transformation tends to desire change. When we say change, it means behavioral change with the aim of converging toward gender equality. Secondly, the change seeks to establish a climate of trust at the level of a society in which we live. We have to implement a climate of trust because in Madagascar it is still very difficult to talk about gender equality. So to this end, gives value to all in order to acquire their place as human. Because here the situation is that fundamental rights are not respected yet by the society. So the transformation is therefore for us this change that tends toward equity and equality. Within the context of working with young people, transformation means to us learning, raising awareness, and sensitizing young people to defend fundamental rights, as I said before, because it is not respected yet here. In this sense, we involve them to be part of the MenEngage adventure to bring this transformation about within society. Note that in Madagascar, social norms and culture are very, very still ingrained and well practiced. Unfortunately, in these standards applied does not necessarily respect the fundamental rights that we advocate, that MenEngage Madagascar advocates. It is in this sense that we have sought to involve young people to make activities with MenEngage Madagascar to implement that transformation. So for us, about working with young people, we sensitize them to bring that change. So for us, and for we've been working with young people, transformations mean to us a change, a rebirth of human rights, and and by giving women the place that they, the opportunity and the place to be in a part of the society. So the main and the most important for us on engaging young people is to bring that respect and to make that fundamental right being respected by everybody. And that's it. And the most important also is to give women this opportunity to be and to have a place in the society where we live. That's the case for Madagascar.
Thank you very much. So I think we will be visiting Madagascar for benchmarking in terms of engaging the youth. That was really great. Now we move on to you, Dr. Chris Ugu. You work in gender justice and also climate justice. So what does transformation mean in those two contexts for you in your line of work?
Thank you very much. Transformation simply means change. By the way, within the context in which we're discussing, gender transformation for us in Nigeria refers to effort to change gender and social norms to address inequalities in power and privilege between the males and the females, in order to free and give everybody a sense of actualization to be able to demonstrate themselves. But more importantly also, to end all forms of harmful and destructive norms. What are those norms? These norms include gender roles. They also include expectations. They also include stereotypes. They also include harmful attitudes. They also include practices that engender violence. And they are manifested in so many dimensions. Number one is the issue of female genital mutilation. The issue of child marriage. The issues of SRHR. Let me put the situation in Nigeria in context. Today in Nigeria, people who are HIV positive are 3.1 million, and most of them are females. And what do they get? Stigmatization, abandonment. Nobody is prepared to care for them. And so you find people not really declaring their status because of stigmatization. What about treatment for them? The treatment is less than 20% of the expected treatment regime. What about harmful traditional practices? Female genital mutilation. In Nigeria today, the prevalence of FGM is more than 75%. Why do they do that? Why is it practiced in Nigeria? One, the issue of patriarchy. People think that females are of a subordinate relationship and importance to the males. Why do they do that? They do that because they think it will curb the promiscuity of females. And then ask yourself, do you do that to the males? So in reality, you find that the issue of female genital mutilation is about power relationship. There's always the tendency to emasculate the female gender and deny them their God-given potential. What about issues of child marriage in Nigeria? More than 86% of our young girls are married off before age 18. Again, the reason is because they don't want them to be exposed to Western civilization, for instance. To go to school, enjoy better living, better standard of living, and all these things are the things for which has motivated MenEngage Nigeria to throw their weight behind all this. Of course, we do also know that in 2014, UN Women about an issue they call He for She. What does that mean? It's a campaign that is going to be driven, as it were, by men and boys to take their positions and begin to work to end all forms of inequality between genders. And as a network, we are committed to getting this happen. We started 2 years ago, and I want to say that one thing we've been able to achieve, as it were, is that we've been able to train our members on masculinity and men and boys, and then transformation approaches to gender-based violence. Today, our members are skilled. They are capacitated to be able to go head on with these issues.
Okay,
We also adopt,
Dr.
Thank you very much. Maybe I stop here, sir.
I wanted to also engage you on the issue of climate justice, that what does transformation mean also in the context of climate justice?
Yes, climate justice, as we all know, there's a ozone layer depletion that is as if we have been a pandemic all over the world. But I think it's even more in Nigeria. The rate of desertification from the north down to the south is moving at a rate of, for every 5 years, there is a kilometer of encroachment of the desert into the hinterland. Now, down south, there is massive deforestation and ownership structures, the land tenure system. And you discover that women are not allowed to own woodlot. They're not even. The meaning is that for so long as you don't involve women in this process, the issue of climate and agricultural justice will remain a myriad. And so it's part of the work we're dealing with to begin to change through legislation policies that women deserve to have lands, woodlots, which they will manage. And for so long as they're doing this, our forestation will remain, desertification will remain, because all these things are because of unhealthy agricultural practices. Okay. And women are better managers of land resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chris. I think we've really picked up that the numbers are staggering in Nigeria, but we're glad that the network is doing something about it. Thank you for your submission, sir. And now we move on to Linda. You work in a conflict zone, and so we wanted to find out what transformation means to you in that context of a conflict zone.
Linda, vous qui travaillez dans une zone de conflit.
Thank you very much. Because of the challenges of Boko Haram.
Okay, so Dr. Chris, that one was a question meant for our colleague in DRC, Linda. Dr. Chris?
Yeah, so I wanted to say that we have challenges of IDPs, internally displaced persons. In Nigeria, we have challenges of Boko Haram incidents and all that. And so people now run away from their original abode to go to other places to live. But what has that meant for, in terms of sexuality, in terms of, we have come to realize there's a lot of rape cases, abuse of females, and sometimes also abuse of males in these IDP camps. And so it's also another area we're working on to see to work to change the orientation of government to begin to realize, and so we're doing advocacy, engaging the state actors to begin to recognize the IDPs are places that we need to work to be able to make sure that there is gender justice, equity, and fairness. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Do we still have Linda to also add on to working in a conflict zone? Is Linda there?
Sorry, Chair, we have lost Linda.
Okay.
That's essentially what I've shared. IDP camps, because of Boko Haram and all that, the meaning is that we're also engaging in the northeast zones of Taraba State, Bauchi State, Borno State, because these ID camps have come to be an area where even law enforcement agencies have been discovered to be abusing young girls. So it's also an area where engaging state actors, the police, the military, to be able to ensure that there's gender justice.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. I think we've had quite a very interesting first round of questions, and I will hand over to my colleague, Shupa.
Thank you very much, Ontla. Interesting conversation we're having so far. I can see that the passion and the great conversation that we're having. So we move on to our second question. So panelists, can you just give me an example of social norms in your countries and the impact they have on patriarchal behavior? So I'll begin with Elias. So Elias, we'll go with you first. What are some of the socio-economic norms in Kenya and what behaviors do they shape?
Thank you so much for the question on social norms. And one of the problems talking in regards to FGM is about the bride price, where if you are cut, you attract more bride price. That means FGM sometimes is commercialized because every man or woman wants our daughters to be cut for economic gains, because if she's cut, that means she attracts more cows and goats and maybe chicken, which happens in the society. So that is one of the social norms that we are fighting to end, because it means more people will be attracted to let their girls be cut so that they can attract more resources in their homes. Maybe they think if their girls are cut, that will be enhanced to their poverty because they will attract more resources, more goats and maybe cows to their homes. So that is one of the critical things that is happening, especially in these communities where girls and women are cut. Sometimes you find that a man may marry a lady who's not cut, but during birth, she's cut. They call women to cut her. So that if those old men go to that home, at least they will get more cows. Another social norm which has a problem here is the issues of restrictions where women who are not cut are not supposed to perform some tasks at home and even in the market. You find a woman is not supposed to keep cows and goats because she's not cut. That means that she will not be involved maybe in selling of the cows or goats because you will not own any of the cows. It also happens that you cannot be allowed to perform any business because no one will buy at your stall because you are not cut, because they presume that you are dirty, you are not clean. So that means if you are not clean, that means that no one who is able to buy your stuff. That brings about the issue of economic injustice, where you find that the women who are not cut are subjected to ridicule, are subjected to economic hardships because they are not supposed to engage in income generating activities. Because even if you do so and you are profiled in the community, no one who will be ready to come to your stall and buy anything. That means that results to poor economic standards for some of the women who have not undergone the cut. So those are some of the social norms that are much experienced here in Kenya, and we are still working to see what can be done, at least to sort out the problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Elias. Maybe I'll bring in Soa. Can you also speak on social norms in your context?
Yeah, thank you, Ontla. You may know that Madagascar is one of those countries where habits and customs have an important place in societal life. However, these habits and customs are sometimes detrimental to our quest of gender equality. I will give you more example about what our social norms are very, very still ingrained. For example, now MenEngage Madagascar got a partnership and have to intervene in the south of Madagascar, in the south of the country. This partnership has led us to explore new areas and new areas of intervention, particularly in the southern of Madagascar. During this partnership, we have discovered a lot of culture that we didn't know, where everything has remained fixed. For example, in a family, the man still holds a superior place to the women. Habits have not changed, and the actors of the situation of inequality are still in the same situation today. For example, in the family, the man has an important place than women. During our intervention in the south of Madagascar, we were able to speak with various groups and community in the regions. And we were able to exchange with those groups and share on harmful practices, especially about gender inequality. An equality that seeks to keep the woman at home as housewife and the man as a provider. To push a little further, the culture in the South still relies on the fact that the man, the husband, the father, the son must eat first. It's just an example. For example, they go out in the morning and go to work. The woman, the wife stay at home and make house chores and make the meal. She has to wait for the husband to go back from his work, and the husband must eat first. And she has to wait after that. After being satiated, after the man, the husband, the father is satiated, then only just that time, the woman can intervene and then clean up afterwards. That's a big, big cult. As I said, ingrained. It doesn't change at all. Another culture in the same community, only the man can decide in the family. The woman can't say anything, can't say nothing about the management of the household. And based on the way each person lives his or her life, the thing is that the man has to make the last decision. Another culture in the South also is about marriage. For example, men can have several wives without having to hide that. And the woman, the first wife must consent. And the woman, the wife, the first wife consent to these relationships, and she has no word to say, just consent. And if it is the woman who is in a situation of unfaith, or who wants to have a lot of husbands, society sues her. I want to reiterate, especially in Madagascar, social norms are still ingrained. To this end, it remains very difficult to overcome these norms which can be detrimental to society. To overcome this difficulty, our strategy is to involve everyone in this struggle so that everyone can enjoy fundamental rights. As I said, in Madagascar, rights are not respected and are not enjoyed by everyone. So our primary objective is to make everyone gender sensitive and to enjoy their the fundamental rights. Man, as a woman, as a human, as a person. That's our primary objective. So our strategy is to make everyone gender sensitive. That's our first plan to overcome that gender inequality and those social norms that that are obstacles to us. That's for the case of Madagascar regarding social norms.
Thank you very much, Soa, for that response. We now go all the way to West Africa. Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris, are you there? Dr. Chris? Okay, we seem to have lost Dr. Chris. Is Linda available? Linda, are you there?
Hello?
Okay. Dr. Chris, you are there? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Chris,
yes, I am.
Kindly speak to us about social norms around marriage and bride price in Nigeria.
Social norms about bride price. I had earlier shared with you one of the challenges we have with the issue of child marriage. It's about poverty. It's about ignorance. It's about superstition. It's about patriarchy. All these things work to exacerbate the challenge we have about child marriage. And the consequences are really, really detrimental to the growth of the girl child. Number one, it infringes on the right of the girl to go to school at least. The Nigerian government has a policy of free education for the girls, for everybody, up to JS3. JS3 is middle class in the secondary school system. But the implication of this early marriage means that these girls will not take advantage of that. So it's like walking in an unholy union to emasculate the girl child. And of course, we all know the basic needs of human beings at the moment is the issue of eating, drinking, and all that. But beyond that, there are more sublime values that a man and woman need to attain in order to give them meaningful life. And that's called what Maslow called the self-actualization. Marrying off our young girls at an early age makes it impossible for them to self-actualize. And that's what we're working against. And let me also share with you an experience. MenEngage Nigeria, through Society for the Improvement of Rural People, have been able to get a law in place in Enugu State, Nigeria. It's called Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law 2019. That law criminalizes all issues of female genital mutilation and child marriage. Anybody who infringes on this or infracts on them will go to jail for 2 years or has an option of fine for 400,000 naira, or both in some cases. So these are the challenges, because patriarchy prefers the male child as opposed to the girl child. And so everything is done by what they call tradition to suppress the girl child. And as MenEngage Nigeria, working with men and boys, involving the media, working with our state actors, we are committed to ensuring that by 2030, the issue of child marriage and female genital mutilation is a thing of the past in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chris. Linda, are you available? Is Linda with us? Okay, we seem to have lost Linda. Just to find out from Elias, I've heard that we've talked about female genital mutilation quite a lot in our discussion over this second question. Kindly share with us what is the main purpose of it, and then also referring back to your answer, I heard that you talked about it being an issue of cleanliness. So just kindly enlighten us concerning that.
Chupa, can you please repeat the question?
Okay, so I was saying, Elias, that in your response to the second question, you talked about female genital mutilation, is it?
Yes.
Yes. So my question is, because Dr. Chris alluded to that as well. So my question is, what is the purpose of it in that within the cultural context? And then also, I heard you mention about it being a matter of cleanliness and those that are not mutilated not being clean. Just kindly shed some light on that issue.
All right. I talked about FGM as a cultural thing, which is practiced by some communities in Kenya. Nationally stands at 21%. One of the issues around it is commercialization of FGM, because you realize some communities, the elders are paid to allow the cut to undergo. So you find that fighting it is difficult because there are some people who are gaining through it. At the same time, I said that the girls who have been cut attract more bride price than those who have not been cut. So it is very easy for parents to encourage their girls to be cut, so that at least in the thinking that maybe their poverty will end when after their girls are married, because they may attract more cows and goats. At the same time, there's a lot of discrimination against those girls who have not been cut in doing some household chores, like I said, collecting greens in the garden and also looking after the livestock. And also, they cannot be involved in the business because some people cannot go to buy in their stalls because they presume that they are dirty. So it is a tough situation in the communities, because they say it is cultural, but the culture behind it is about economic gains. Because it will attract resources, it will attract some funds. Even the women who cut are paid, depending on the number of girls they cut, and that makes them not seek alternative income generating activities, because they have easy work, because parents will take their daughters to them for the cut. Thank you. I don't think whether I think I have answered to your question.
Yes, you have. No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ontla, back to you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, so far we're having such a rich conversation about our social norms. And if you just joined us, welcome. We're having the Africa Roundtable for the Ubuntu Symposium. Now, colleagues, I would like us to now talk about how the work that we're doing is contributing towards shifting those social norms. I will start with you, Dr. Chris Ugu.
Thank you very much. The work going in Nigeria is shifting perception about gender norms. We were privileged to be one of the countries that benefited from CEDA grants through social gender justice. And one of our primary intervention or job or program was to train our members on a number of approaches. The first approach is the issue of masculinity, the issue of human rights. And we needed to do that because for you to do a very good advocacy, especially upscaling your advocacy to the level of state actor, then you must be knowledgeable. You must arm your people to be knowledgeable and skilled in advocacy arrangements and frameworks. And so today, we've been able, at least, to get 70% of our membership properly schooled and skilled on the approaches that will ensure transformation of social norms in Nigeria. And like I did mention, the social norms that are prevalent in Nigeria include, number one, the issue of female genital mutilation, child marriage, SRHR, stigmatization of people who are living with HIV and AIDS, and then LGBTI persons. Of course, we do know that Nigerian government has a law banning all issues of gay marriage, people with transgender attributes and all that. But we are coming from the angle of rights. Because what we have seen in Nigeria is that every 2 weeks at the maximum, the media is awash with how the law enforcement agents have raided the homes of people they perceive as having different gender orientation. And we're working to make sure that, look, it is a right. You do not begin to treat people, put them into prison just for the sake of their gender orientation. For people who are living with HIV and AIDS, female sex workers. Because one of the things we try to do by way of advocacy is to make people realize that we don't need to be judgmental about the way people live their lives. To do that will be conferring on us an attribute we don't have. Because that's a fine attribute. We as human beings have no right to begin to take those things that are in the domain of the divine. And so we have been able to, number one, get a law in place that addresses issues of all the gender issues, all the issues within the gender violence purview. And that is why I shared with you a while ago that today in Nigeria, there is an act, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, which states are supposed to adopt and adapt. And then here in the Enugu State, we've been able on our own to mobilize other civil society organizations. And today in Enugu State, we have a law that criminalizes anything that has to do with female genital mutilation, child marriage, and it's working. Today, the drop out by of child marriage has drastically reduced to the point where we now have like 60%. We're not there yet, but this is a little progress. And we are working. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. I'm very happy that you're sharing the progress that you're making as a country, but I also want to engage you on another issue that you brought up, which I think would benefit even other African states where we know homosexuality is not really recognized legally. I wanted to find out, how tactical are you as a network in ensuring that you're also defending the rights of everyone, but not putting yourself in danger as well?
Very good. That was why the first thing we needed to do was to give people capacity and how to go for advocacy. Because sometimes also you discover that initially our members will also have this judgmental disposition towards the whole thing. And the reality is, we're not saying the government, oh, you are wrong, oh, completely wrong, and all that. No. We also appreciate their own position, but we try to see a middle ground, because sometimes in the name of activism, people have put their life on the line, which shouldn't be. We should be able to get a middle ground, a milieu of consensus between state actors and the civil society organizations. And our attitude had always been to come to them with a sense of appreciation that government's primary role is to protect lives and to render services. And so we tell them, oh, we're also coming from that perspective. We're also coming from that. And then we can find a middle ground and we begin to share and talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. We'd like to move on to Soa. Soa, maybe you can give us insights into how you're working to shift those social norms that we've talked about.
Yeah. Thank you, Hontla. Usually when we talk about social norms, it includes harmful cultural, traditional practices, norms, stereotypes, behavior, and beliefs. When we usually talk about those things, I want to say first that it's difficult to talk about those norms. Those norms are ingrained and can't be changed quickly. So, how do we work to shift the social norms? For Madagascar, the things that we do is to involve, sensitize everybody to get gender sensitive, as I said. We involved young people, we involved adult people, and we involved leaders, we involved local authority, we involved everyone in the society. To shift the social norms, we try to make those people interact to each other. For example, as I mentioned before, now we have that we got that partnership in the southern of the country. So we work with every entity. So, for example, we work with we call those mixed groups that include men, women in the society, in different status, in different power. They can be a person who are unemployed. They can be someone who has authority in the society. But the thing is to make their gender sensitive and to make those work, we actually use the manual training from MenEngage, and we try to implement those strategy to involve them. So these exchanges and sharing have greatly influenced the way we work. We currently see things now and the way we work now, because we know more about how they act, how they respect their cultures, their norms, their traditional practices, how they face stereotypes, and how they conduct their life. So now we got more information about how to go through those cultural obstacles. We know more how to act to reach our goals and to optimize activities. Now, also, we know more about how to discuss with those different groups, with leaders, with mixed groups, with authorities. So we are not limited anymore, and we can cover our threat. We also know more about how to sensitize people, how to approach people, and how to deal about gender and controversial issues, which is gender. Because as I said, in Madagascar, it is still difficult to talk about gender, because when we talk about gender here, especially men, they are afraid, they think that we want to have the same place. But the thing is that in that moment, women just want to be respected and to enjoy their fundamental rights. That's all. That's the first step. So how we make it? Then we talk with those different group leaders, authorities, mixed group. and young people. With that, we try to get a lot of information, and those information will lead us to adapt our approach and our strategies to make the gender equality and to change some harmful practices and some social norms that can be an obstacle to our quest of gender equality. So yes, that's the case of Madagascar.
Okay, thank you very much, Swai. You brought up a very comprehensive context of what is happening in Madagascar, and I think you touched on it when you talked about polygamy. So what I wanted to find out from you is, have the social norms, first of all, influence the laws and policies in the country? And what is MenEngage Madagascar doing to use the social norms and advocate for better relations between women and men and boys and girls?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, it influenced some laws, but the thing is that in Madagascar, social norms are more important than laws. I mean, the things that are have been implemented before by Malagasy people are very dominant, and as it is dominant, we have some difficulties to change those things. So even with law, until now, we try to overcome the social norms that have been implemented before. However, for example, as I said, we got that, for example, MenEngage Madagascar got that partnership in the southern of the country. That partnership is about the gender equality, the law of gender equality that Madagascar wants to implement. So the first thing that MenEngage Madagascar did was to make those person in the south gender sensitized. So that's the first step. So after that, we could come through it and overcome some harmful practices to reach that the goal of equality.
Okay, thank you very much, Sua. I think the beauty about this engagement is that there are also opportunities for benchmarking. I know that Dr. Chris mentioned some laws that they have had in Nigeria and how they're working for them. So I believe that we can always see how we can tap into each other's advocacy successes to make sure that we have the change happening in our countries. Elias, I haven't forgotten you there, my brother. Maybe you can come in and tell us how you're working to shift these social norms.
Thank you so much, Hondla, for the question. Let me start with the law part. We have law against FGM in Kenya, and as you know that we have to use carrots and sticks to end FGM, because I'm talking in the context of FGM. Now we realize that the law may not, it is there, but it may not be effective because implementation is slow, and there are other factors at play, like politics in these areas. So what we do is a network. First of all, we do community engagement on gender transformation, because there are some values and behaviors that these communities have, which needs to be changed. And if they are not changed, even if the law is applied, FGM will be done. So we engage the communities on gender transformation. And this, what we did, first of all, we trained what we call the community change agents. These are people in the society who are opinion leaders, who are influential, and who may get opportunities maybe in community meetings to speak against the effects of FGM. We also have meetings and sensitizations with the religious leaders where we engage them on the effects of FGM so that they can use their platforms in their religious settings to speak against FGM. And because they have influence, it is very easy for them to be heard. After gender transformation, because now people have thought about their behaviors, their values, and they need to evaluate them. We also take individuals and commit them to taking action. Now you are transformed. What action can you take? Now, after strengthening their power and the capacity to make the change, we encourage them now to speak to their family members because that is the first setting. And so that at least if they have sisters at home, if they have women at home, if they want to marry, they are not the women and the girls are not subjected to FGM. Then we also have the issue of facilitating the change process. Now, passing the knowledge and the understanding which they have to others. Now, after they have the knowledge, we encourage them to pass the knowledge to other people, to their peers in the community, so that they can continue with the good work. And then we empower them through communication, how they can communicate to groups, how they can communicate to members of the society against these vices that are happening. So it's a package where we take individuals and especially young people and groups through, so that they can think about, so that they can have personal touch and a change, because at least there's no way you can change others unless you have changed yourself. So that is what we are engaging here. We also, as of the law, we also engage with the government, so that at least they can talk about the law, which is there, and the penalties that are in the laws, so that at least those people who are practicing can know that it is dangerous and it is doing FGM as consequences. There is also another thing which is happening, especially in our country. We have the government has provided the toll-free numbers which people can call if they witness an FGM case happening somewhere. So we encourage the individuals in the community who have changed to use the numbers to call and inform either the police and law enforcement officers on what is happening at the community level. Maybe they may fear the repercussions of reporting, maybe in a police station, because they may be called as a witness during prosecution. But the numbers are there. We help them so that at least they can use the numbers to inform law enforcement officers about FGM cases happening. And it has helped in many cases because some people have been prosecuted and because of raising alarm by anonymous people. And we are still continuing doing the work because changing social norms is not as it is, because these are their values, their behaviors and attitudes which people have been used for a long time, and it means they have to be taken through a process of changing. You cannot change whole, but even if you change one, that one will change another. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That was really great. I liked the part where you mentioned that after you train people, you ask them what action they're going to take. And that's touching on one of the themes of the symposium, which is accountability. But what I wanted to ask you is, on a societal level, what are you doing in Kenya to make sure that you effect the change? Are you engaging with power holding structures or community structures so that it's at an individual level and also at a society level?
All right, thanks for the question. Now at the community level, here we have, we usually have forums and sensitization forums with religious leaders, because we know that they are very influential. They have, there are people every Sunday and every service day which they usually hold. so that now they can speak to their congregation about the effects of FGM, because these people who attend these churches are the same, they are community members. So after empowering the religious leaders, because they have the power to influence their followers, they go back to their institutions and they speak against FGM. We also encourage them to give platform to community change agents to speak against FGM and other and child marriage in their institution, because you may find that a religious leader may fear the repercussions of speaking against these vices in the congregation, because not all people in the group have changed, but we have activists who have the information. So we encourage them, and that has happened, so that they can give them a platform to speak against those vices in their churches. And we also talk to chiefs, because they hold their meetings. We call them barazas in their areas of the jurisdiction. We encourage them to give these change agents, those people who have been transformed, an opportunity and a chance to speak about FGM, about child marriage and its effects to the community members, so that at least they may understand. Some of the people may not have a knowledge on the consequences of FGM, because some communities in Kenya do not allow women to speak. So you find that you may not get survivors to speak against on what they are going through. But now when you give change agents, these male, sometimes we have male action teams where we have a group of male guys who speak against FGM and child marriage. So when we give them opportunity, they speak about it at the community level, and those people who have not heard about the effects, especially the old men who always ensure that the practice is done, they get the information, and that leads to transformation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that response. I think it's really important for us to engage community gatekeepers. So it's really interesting to find out that you're already doing that. So my takeaway from this past question, colleagues, I think there were 3 themes here: the importance of education, the importance of multi-sectoral stakeholder engagement, and also community engagement. So I can see that there's a lot that is going into us shifting the social norms, and I'm really excited about that. I would like to hand over to Chupa to give us our next question.
Thank you very much, Ontla. Indeed, it's been a wonderful discussion so far with great contributions from the panel of speakers that we have. We move on to our 4th question, and we keep on reminding you that this is the MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium Regional Roundtable meeting for Africa. And thank you for joining us. We hope you will join us for the other meetings that continue to come. Remember that this is a series of meetings that we continue to have at the regional and cross-regional level. We go on to our 4th question. I'll ask Elias first. Elias, how have your programs, campaigns, advocacy efforts, and initiatives been able to instigate transformative attitudes and behaviors among the community members? For you, Elias, I would like you to answer this one at the individual level.
Thank you so much. One thing after engaging communities and individuals, we've realized that we have also to come with innovative ways of making changes at the community level. And one of the things as a network we've done is to engage. We have a program where which we call the Dads and Daughters workshops to end FGM and child marriage. How this works is that we realize that maybe dads do not know about the aspirations of their daughters, and they may not know what their daughters go through, because in African setting, and especially Kenya, you find that daughters are meant for their mothers, so they may not get some time to talk to their dads. So we have dads and daughters. We bring dads and daughters together, where we have daughters between 9 to 17 years. They come with their dads, first of all, what we do is first to embrace communication between the dads and daughters, so that dads can know the aspirations of their daughters and their fears, especially in the communities and at home, because if daughters do not communicate with their dads, there are some things that they may miss. Maybe they want to pursue their education, and the provider is the dad who gives the money, but they have not heard about the aspirations of their daughters. So we have brought that, which has helped a lot, because it has brought communication between dads and daughters. We have also given them assignments to do together, and getting simple things like having selfies together, which they share. That means the bond is close, and it is and from the experiences that we have, it has worked very well, because it has helped many dads commit that their daughters will not be cut, and they will support their daughters in school. So we have also other initiatives where we have had meetings with individual community members to discuss with them about their feelings on FGM and child marriages, and the response is amazing, because many are committed to engaging their peers, so that they can stop FGM and child marriages. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that response, Elias. I hope that other countries can emulate the dads and daughters campaign that you have out there in Kenya. Move on to Dr. Ugu. Dr. Ugu, the same question. I would like to find out from you how you are instigating transformative change on structural barriers in Nigeria. So the same question goes to you. How have your programs, campaigns, advocacy efforts, and initiatives been able to instigate transformative attitudes and behaviors among community members regards structural barriers?
Chupa,
yes.
Please,
yes,
let somebody else. Let somebody else give me that question. I'll come back in the next 2 minutes. Please give the question.
Okay, Dr. Chris seems to be having some challenges there. So let's move to you. Kindly brief us on what you are doing to instigate transformative change in Madagascar, and in relation to inequalities.
Okay, thank you, Chopa.
Yes.
Yes. How have our programs, campaigns, advocacy, effort, and initiative been able to instigate, transformative change on norms that perpetuate inequality? It should be noted that the ultimate goal of our commitment is to the behavioral change. The behavioral change to converge toward gender equality. Through our activities, we wanted to change step by step some point of view, some practices, some norms, some way of doing things. Our approach and our strategy approach is to the participative approach, as well as the implementation of a confidence building system. Why a participative approach? Participative approach to make the change, to change norms that perpetuate inequalities. Participative approach, because the thing is that if everybody participates to make the change, it will be easier for everyone to adopt the change that we want to make. That's why we have decided to use that participative approach, as well as the implementation of the confidence building system. Why confidence building system? Because in the case of Madagascar, in Madagascar, it remains very, very difficult to speak freely. About some subjects like gender, like the place that women should have, the women's rights, the feminism, the early marriage, a lot of harmful practices. So in Madagascar, it still remains very difficult to speak about some subjects, particularly those that MenEngage Madagascar defends. So to implement some changes, when we talk about inequalities and got some positive results, we are more on sensitization through social media, and some people who are interested for change. For example, we really work with young associations, with ministry, with all of the people that want to make the change with us. So those sensitizations that we make with on social media or face-to-face sensitizations, like the mobilization of youth, or the meeting with faith, traditional community leaders, or the group sensitizations that, for example, we make with local authority, and also the meetings that lead to sensitization. The goal of those sensitizations, even with social media, young people, local authorities, is to make people gender sensitive and to stop those inequalities. So it will lead them to be more aware of what are important, or what should we do to give the place to everyone, to respect each other, particularly women's rights and human rights. Because in the case of Madagascar, inequalities there, and we know that there is a lot of harmful practices, social norms, culture that help those culture to stay and make them dominant. So for us, our programs, campaigns, advocacy effort, and initiatives about transformative attitudes in front of inequalities is that we work with everyone, and we make everyone gender sensitive, and we make everyone aware of what should we do, because we are all human. So that's for the case of Madagascar.
Thank you very much there. So Dr. Chris, are you ready for us to go back to you?
Dr. Chris? Okay, Dr. Chris seems to still not be available. Okay, so we move on then. We move on to the next question, Ontla.
Ontla, you are on mute.
Ontla, you're on mute. Kindly unmute yourself.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Before we round off this round table, we just wanted to ask each and every one of the panelists for a closing comment. You know, we want us to reflect on what it is going to, yes?
Before that, Dr. Chris is now available. Let's, I think we can have him respond to the third question that we asked.
Great, great. Dr. Chris, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So Dr. Chris, we'd like you to speak on, we'd like you to speak on transformative change on men. Okay, Dr. Chris.
Yeah, share with me the question again, please. I'm sorry.
Okay. We would like you to speak on instigating transformative change on structural barriers.
Yeah. Well, of course, you do know Nigeria is a patriarchal society, and males are preferred to females. The implication is that women are always put down. For instance, all the structural changes of preferring males to females is one of the albatross we discover in thinking about gender equality. Again, there is the issue of poverty, if you like. You see, this poverty is because women are never given the opportunity to really demonstrate and maximize their potential. So the implication is that we could build in this whether at the level of government, how many at the National Assembly of Nigeria you find 4 females in the whole of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? And why is that so? It's all because of patriarchy. It's all about gender intolerance. It's all about the fact that when a woman comes out, they just give her a label and say, this is a prostitute. How suddenly has it come out? They begin to contest elections and all that. And there's stigmatization that is building around that. And so all these things have a way of entrenching these age-long practices. But there's one thing we always keep sharing with them each time we have to confront the state. Both the state actors at the community level or the traditional levels, we've always given this example. There is this lady called Mary Slessor. It's an Irish missionary that came to Nigeria in the 80s. That's in the 1880s. And she discovered that twins were being killed in Nigeria. And this lady started to share conscientization, advocacy, meeting the traditional rulers, the gatekeepers in the various communities, telling them that twins are gifts from God. Today in Nigeria, we don't kill twins anymore. In fact, we pray for them. So we are also using the same non-judgmental, non-confrontational, yet very strong persuasive argument to make our case. We adopt the UNICEF 6-point framework for ending female genital mutilation. And it has always helped us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chris, for that wonderful contribution. I think for me, my takeaway message, Ontla and everyone joining us from around the world is that for transformative change to take place, we need to involve as many stakeholders as possible. Yeah, Ontla, on to the next question.
All right, thank you so much, Shuba. You are indeed making a valid point there, and our colleagues have really comprehensively answered the question. And we're heading towards the end of our session for today, and this question is more of a reflective one. We have mentioned that we have a lot of social norms that are standing in the way of achieving gender equality. We've also mentioned what we're doing, but what we'd want to ask you, each and every one of the panelists, what do you think it will take for Africa to achieve gender equality? I will start off with you, Dr. Chris.
Thank you very much for this question. It is one question that has always, even as a person, had always bothered me. For Africa, to be able to ensure and achieve gender equality within our continent, we have like 5 things we need to do. Number one, we need to reduce excess female mortality in Africa. Africa is the only continent that has the highest female mortality, whether it is during childbirth, whether it is because of some kind of challenges. But we record this amazing, this unfortunate figure, because the same with HIV. Africa records the highest rate of HIV infection and epidemic. And these are all things that bring down issues of gender equality. We also have issues of poor water, sanitation, and health services. The second thing is that we need to close gaps in productivity and earnings. Women work in less productive areas. They work in less profitable areas. They are assigned to work from the home, work in the home. And this work in the home are never paid for. In fact, it is not even reckoned. So there's a need for Africa to close gaps in productivity and earnings. Another area we need to confront as Africans, shrinking differences in voice in household and society. Many women in sub-Saharan Africa have little degree of control over even their own resources. Decisions in the families. These are challenges we need to work on in order for us to close the gap of gender differences in Africa. Another thing that we need to confront as Africans is to invest in our youth to break intergenerational cycles of gender inequality. I mean, to come to think of it, today in Africa, we still see issues of contraceptives as an anathema. It shouldn't be. We must make sure that we make this available to our youth. So there's the need for targeted intervention for women during the final adolescent stages, especially the ability to curb patterns of risky sexual behaviors, encourage girls to stay in school. These are things we need to engage. And how do we do that? We need to engage our youth in skills training and combat institutionalized gender inequality if we must. Entrench the value of gender equality in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khan. Thank you very much for those 5 pointers. I believe that we have all noted and we're looking forward to using them in our line of work. I'd like to go on to you, Elias. What will it take for us to achieve gender equality in Africa?
Thank you, Hondla, for that question. One of the things that will help is we need to do is community engagement. And community engagement, we can do it through community change agents, through male acting teams, through religious and traditional leaders to promote behavior change and challenge cultural beliefs. Because that has been one of the problems we are faced with. Culture is everywhere. So we need to sustain community engagement initiatives so that at least we can challenge the cultural beliefs. That is one. Another one, because we have rapidly expanding communication technology, we want to look at on how we can use technology to promote gender equality, how we can engage through communication, maybe in terms of FGM, where we can have anonymous reporting of FGM cases. How can we link community members with government agencies through technology? That is something we need to think about. And then the last one, which I have, is to build a strong regional multi-sector network and knowledge sharing hub on preventing and responding to gender-based violence and promoting gender equality. We need to come together because if you work alone, you cannot succeed. But when you are together, you can have many ideas. You can replicate the best ideas that can work from your region to another region, and that helps. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elias. Last but not least, Soa, what will it take for us to achieve gender equality here?
Yeah, so there is still work to be done, and the road is long and bumpy. But I believe and I hope that change is to be hoped for. Africa still has a lot of work to do, and to do it, the involvement of all is necessary. For me, when I said for MenEngage Madagascar, the job is to make everyone gender sensitive. When I say gender sensitive, I mean everyone should be aware of what is important. What is it important for others? Not to be selfish, but also look at others. So the first thing is to make everyone gender sensitive and to make them understand the importance of equality, the importance of enjoying rights, and the importance of equality between everybody, and the respect for rights for everyone. I think it's the first thing that we should do to overcome those inequalities and to make to stop some harmful practices that can be very obstacles to reach the gender equality. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So Chiba, quite some interesting ideas there. What do you think?
Indeed, Oncha. I think what I get from the speakers is that gender equality is possible as long as we work together and move together in one direction. Because I think when we talk about gender equality, we're talking about a community here, not just about women or those that are marginalized in society. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I also found it really rich, and I believe that some of these things, or in fact, all of these things are possible. We have set ourselves different commitments to achieve, and I think that what they have listed are some of the things that we could use to ensure that we achieve gender equality.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we would really like to thank our panelists for the wonderful information that they shared with us. We're now coming to the close of the show, but before we do that, I would want to find out if the panelists have maybe any other questions they would like to pose to each other. Just for the next 8 minutes, let's engage with each other. If we want any learning opportunities, if we want to see clarity on what anyone mentioned, do we have any questions between the panelists?
Linda, parmi les panélistes, est-ce que tu as une question à poser? Tu as quelque chose à dire?
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Chris.
Yeah, I just want to commend you, the moderators, you and Chapa. I mean, it's been wonderful. The facilitation is just simply superb, and I want to commend you. I also want to commend Elias and Soa. You are really wonderful. I've really learned a lot from you. And by way of my parting comment, I like to quote Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And she said, all of our humanity is dependent upon recognizing the humanity in others. So I would encourage us to always remember that Ubuntu is the belief that we are defined by our compassion and kindness towards each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was really, really appropriate for our discussion today. So anything you'd like to add?
Oui,
Another
bonjour.
thing I like to add is to make us realize our expectations from this Ubuntu. You see, the Ubuntu Symposium, my personal expectation is that the symposium will really be a space for listening, for critical reflection and commitment of all of us across lines, national lines and boundaries, religious lines and boundaries, to transform masculinity and engage men and boys for gender equality and social justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chris. I would like to give Linda. Linda, we've lost you for quite some time there.
I can say something.
Yes, please.
Okay. Micheline can translate me. En fait, je m'excuse pour ne pas être avec vous. Parce que la connexion a lâché, mais je voudrais un peu parler
because of the connection.
Oui, je voudrais parler par rapport à la transformation.
I want to speak about the transformation.
Oui, c'est un processus et c'est les nouveaux attitudes et comportements qu'un individu adopte après la prise de conscience. Comme par exemple pour la RDC, on peut le définir par le fait qu'une personne s'engage à la promotion de la paix et à la cohabitation pacifique.
Continue. Ça, je ne devais pas.
À la cohabitation pacifique en brisant les barrières culturelles, religieuses, politiques et coutumières pouvant s'aimer la haine, les discriminations qui sont souvent source de guerres et enfin cette personne devenir un ambassadeur de la paix et s'engager à la promotion de l'égalité des genres et des sexes. C'est un peu ça, en quelque sorte, en quelques mots, la transformation pour nous.
Linda was responding to the first question that was posed to her regarding the transformation in the DRC. Yeah, can she continue with the second one?
I think what would need to happen is to have the responses cut short so that we can wrap up the whole session. So she can just maybe give a minute of a response to each of the questions.
Tu peux être bref pour chaque question parce qu'on n'a plus de temps.
Oui, je me limite par là pour la première, j'attends directement la deuxième et je vais juste vraiment synthétiser, comme vous venez de le demander. Pour les normes culturelles, nous avons des sessions de facteurs sociaux et culturels qui perpétuent les inégalités, la violence et une santé médiocre considérablement la vie physique, reproductive et aspirante à la majorité des femmes. C'est parce que ces inégalités se perpétuent souvent et se manifestent sur la vie des femmes et des jeunes filles. Et ces normes, si on peut les synthétiser par de brefs mots, on peut dire que ça se qualifie par le pouvoir, l'héritage, les travaux ménagers, la dot, la parole ou les dialogues entre les hommes. Là où il y a les hommes, on considère qu'une femme ne peut pas avoir à dire là-bas. L'accès à la revendication de droits, une femme ne peut pas revendiquer ce droit. La force physique, on pense que lorsqu'un homme bat sa femme, il est vraiment, c'est maintenant un homme. La prise de décision, une femme ne peut pas participer à la prise de décision. Les revenus ménageurs, une femme ne doit pas avoir ses propres fonds, donc tous les fonds qu'elle doit avoir, c'est pour le ménage. Le sexe, une femme ne doit pas refuser son mari le sexe, même s'il est fatigué, même s'il est indisposé. On pense que l'homme a droit au sexe à chaque fois qu'il en a besoin. Les inégalités entre les enfants. Chez nous, on considère que lorsqu'on veut avoir, ou bien lorsqu'on veut faire le choix d'un enfant, on préfère choisir un homme. Si on peut demander son choix, on pouvait choisir un garçon parce que dans nos têtes, dans nos cultures, on pense qu'avec le garçon, c'est bon parce qu'il va perpétuer la famille. Et une fille va aller dans une autre famille et elle va perdre l'originalité de la famille. On pense qu'une femme ne doit pas occuper le poste de responsabilité. Or, ce sont des normes contribue et qui perpétue les discriminations et l'inégalité entre les sexes, l'inégalité des genres. C'est un peu ça par rapport aux normes aussi en RDC.
Linda just finished to explain regarding the question, what are the social norms in DRC and how they are shaping the meaning of being a man? So she just finished to explain that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to thank each and every one of you for your participation in this roundtable. We have really learned a lot, as I mentioned, and we have a lot of takeaways, which I believe we're going to implement in our countries. We would like to thank the technical team at CVent and the support team at Sonke Gender Justice, which is the Secretariat for MenEngage Africa. Not forgetting the organizers of this symposium, RUMREC, and the MenEngage Global Alliance. So thank you so much for making this possible. We're really excited for the next roundtables that are going to be happening over the next 6 months. Over to you, Chupa.
Indeed, looking forward to more roundtables coming up and to great conversations on how we can achieve gender equality. We also like to thank our panelists for this discussion. Thank you for your wonderful contributions, and I hope those joining us from around the world have learned one or two things. So don't forget to follow the Ubuntu Symposium running through to April 2021. Download the event app for the full program. I wish you the best as you enjoy the Ubuntu Symposium. So as we conclude, we are all going to say, I am because you are. Can we do that together, team? 1, 2, 3, go. I am because you are.
I am because you are.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. I am because you are. 1, 2, 3, go.
I am
because you are. Okay.
Je suis parce
que
tu es.
Okay, we had French there. Ubuntu.